to Rubbin Minds. My name is Isabella Adediji. A happy Easter celebration or happy Resurrection Sunday to those who practice the Christian faith. Now, we're going to start the show looking at an incident that happened over the week. Now, did you know that an estimated 1.3 billion people are living with disabilities? That's about 16% of the population of the world. That's 1 in 6 people are living with some form of disability. Yet, these people are excluded from employment, excluded from transportation services, excluded from contributing their own quota to society, to development. They battle with stigma. A lot of times, people living with disability do not want to come out because they fear that they won't be given a chance or they'll be singled out, they'll be bullied. And when I mentioned an incident that happened over the course of the week, I'm referring to Debola Daniel, who posted on his X account narrating his ordeal at one of the popular quick service restaurants at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport. And he and his family wanted to purchase a meal, but he was excluded from gaining entrance to the facility. They said no wheelchairs allowed. And as a result, he wasn't served, he wasn't granted access, he left, and later on, his traveling company, his traveling party returned to this quick service restaurant, and they still reiterated, the manager, which was caught on video, reiterated no wheelchairs allowed. So now we're looking at ability and disability. Thankfully, FAN has responded very swiftly and they've closed down the facility, but the wider conversation still remains. Why aren't people living with disabilities granted the opportunity to enjoy life, to contribute to life? And I'm glad that we have 2 guests here on the show joining us. First, we have the first blind or visually impaired African rapper. He's also a voice actor and disability rights advocate, Abednego Norris. Welcome to Rubbin Minds.
Thank you so much for having me. Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon, Nigeria and the world at large.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. And we also have joining us via Zoom, Olajide Funsho Benjamin, the Executive Director, Disability Not a Barrier Initiative, that's DINABI Nigeria, and he's also a disability rights advocate. Welcome, Olajide, to Rubbin Minds. So I'd like to start the conversation looking at personal experiences. It's always good to hear from people who are living with disabilities but have found a way to still exercise their abilities. So I'll start with you, Abednego. You are a rapper, you're a voice advocate, a voice actor, and a disability rights advocate. What has been the experience charting a career despite your visual impairment?
Okay, thank you very much. Beautiful question. So I would start by saying it's been a roller coaster of both good and bad moments. Remember, as a person with disability, you're struggling with quite a number of things. The industry that I am in, which happens to be the entertainment industry, you'll find out that for people to put you on is a lot of work. Even when you show your workings that, okay, I can deliver, they are unsure. Okay, will this person do it up to my standard? Will this person be able to give me what I want? Even when they can see that, okay, you've been doing this from a very, very long time up until this time. I mean, I represent an organization like Just Able Creative Expressions Africa. And one of the cores that we are championing is making sure that inclusion is readily available from the entertainment sector to sports and everything at large. As a voice actor, I believe that in conversations that have to do with voice actors, I wouldn't be in your mind immediately. But why is that? That's because you are unsure that I will be able to deliver. As a rapper, yes, I have been accepted more in that field. That's because there are no rappers that are doing such. Cobhams is doing more of the singing and production alongside other things. And so for me to do something as new as this, it's marveling. However, the support is not so 100 when it comes to, okay, get me reposted, get those support. And we need those things to fly because we also want to be part of the game-changing industry and say, this is our contribution to the quota and all.
Thank you for that. I'll move to Olajide Funsho. Olajide, are you there? I'd like you to share a personal experience.
All right. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone, and good afternoon, our viewers at home. Of course, my own experience has been that of good and bad. Good in the sense that I actually had a father who had this very serious trust in me, who believed so much in me. And that gave me some level of privileges. For instance, the ability to be able to go to school at all was simply because my dad had this belief in me. And that was why I said that. And that was why I said that, a little bit good in that aspect. But the bad aspect is our society, of course. When you look at the society that we live in, and then you have this cultural belief that persons with disabilities are good for nothing people, and considering the age when I was growing up, the belief then was that the moment you are a person with disability, they have written you up straight. So just forget about it. You are not expected to become anybody in life. So, and growing up in a state like Ekiti State, a little bit local in nature, and had to grow up there, it was tough. Going to school was tough. Most of the classes, were grossly inaccessible. Unlike now that you have so many assistive devices that can support you in your career, then there was nothing of such. Nothing like crutches for me then. I had my brother who had to go into the bush and cut a wood for me that I used to work then. So it was so tough. And, looking back at the issue of discrimination, the issue of rejection, even from family members. So it was seriously tough. I wouldn't wish that for anyone. Seriously, I wouldn't.
But of course, thank you for sharing that. I'll move to you, Abednego. Let's talk about access. Access to venues. For example, you're a rapper, and in the course of your career, you'd have to perform on stage, you have to go to different venues. How would you rate the kind of access that exists in the buildings in terms of them being inclusive for people living with disabilities?
First, let me give a special shout to Adenike Oyetunde, who currently works a lot more with the Lagos state government, and they're making sure that things like this are put in place. However, we're not there yet, 100. There are just some of the major places that are making sure that when you're getting into the place, that you have a place where you can actually pass through. But it's not specifically for you, to be honest. So when shows are done, they are not putting you into the quota or whatever they're planning. The only reason why I don't feel so much hurt about it half the time is because I have people who are going with me. But what about my next brother? What about my sister? You had Olajide talk about how someone had to cut a wood for him to use as a cane guide. Now, if I don't have access to maybe live in Lagos or have more information like I do, what would it be like? It would be a lot more difficult. So I think there's a lot more work to be done, but I would give, if I'm being honest, I would give some of the venues in Lagos, because not all of them, I'll give the venues in total a 5/10, which means more work needs to be done. Orientation is key. Continuation of these conversations, and also factoring persons like us when we're coming to your event. It's one thing to say, oh, you're doing it because of your kindness part of you, and it's another thing to know that, okay, this is part of the law. So if we add kindness and doing the part of the law, then that would get us a 9 or most likely a 10/10.
Yeah, a lot of work has been done by the Lagos state government in ensuring that some of these venues are accessible. I'll move to you now, Olajide. And my question to you is looking at the government. when we look at some of the policies in place now on a federal level, because you made mention of Ekiti State, for example, do you feel that there are enough policies that are addressing some of the unique challenges faced by persons living with disabilities?
All right, thank you. I think I would say that we have enough policies and legal frameworks. To be candid, I would say that we have it. For instance, Nigeria is signatory to the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, and Nigeria is also signatory to the African Disability Protocol. And then in 2018 also, the then president of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, also signed the Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Prohibition Act 2018 into an act. And various states in Nigeria have also domesticated this act. For instance, Ekiti State have domesticated it into law. So, and we have several other policies, inclusive education policy, the national health policy, and all the rest of them. But of course, it is not just peculiar to disabilities alone. Virtually all laws and legal frameworks and policy frameworks in Nigeria, the usual problem that we usually have has always been the aspect of implementation. So, and I think that is what is still lacking now as far as the disability community is concerned. Talking about the issue of accessibility that you raised the other time, of course, it was this year that the moratorium given in that law came to an end. For instance, in the Act, we have a moratorium of 5 years that every public buildings must conform, must ensure that they have accessibility facilities put in place, which means that after the 5 years, they can't be sued now, all right? And of course, it now depends on if the duty bearers are ready enough, especially the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities, which is also a subset of that particular act, because its creation is as a result of a section in that act. So, and of course, we are expecting now that people will now begin to come out. And let me just inform you that the word public building in that act is not talking about government buildings alone. It's talking about every buildings that are made in such a way that people within the society can have access to them.
So buildings that are accessible by the public.
It has become a public building, because it means that you are going to be rendering services and you are expecting people to be coming into such facilities. Okay. So for me, we have various laws, we have various policies, but the aspect of implementation, to me, it's very, very slow, extremely slow, which is not good enough. And I believe that government can do better.
Okay, so it's more about the enforcement of and implementation of these laws. Now, I want to move the conversation, Abednego, to the role of education, the role of the media in sensitizing the population that people living with disabilities have abilities. They should be included. In your own view, do you feel that the education system and also the media is doing enough to promote inclusion and to educate the population on, because when we look at people living with disabilities, it's quite a wide spectrum from mental health issues to physical issues, and even albinism.
Okay, so to be fair, I would say education-wise, we are not there yet. We're not there at all. So it is one thing to say, hey, come to my school, come school with us. We're going to offer you admission. It is another thing to say, when you get here, you are on your own. It is, like I said, there is the kindness part that people are thinking, oh, that's the law working. No, that's not the law working. We have a lot of work to do. If you check out a visually impaired person now, how many of our universities have libraries that have books that we can use? Because what they have had to do is say to you, when you get your notes or something of sort, then bring it over to us. We would now find a way to have them embossed for you. And imagine your exam is in a month's time, but this process sometimes takes up to 2 to 3 months. Haven't you written the exams already? So enough work needs to be done when it comes to putting more books in the libraries that are in maybe Braille, or more sign interpreters for people who are living with hearing impairment and the likes. We have to do these things because it has not been done. When it comes to the media, the issue here is the media has not done enough. If you talk about starting from having more programs that educate people on these issues, we don't have them so many. I can count them with my fingers that, okay, these are the number of TV or radio stations that are offering programs of sort to talk about these issues, maybe weekly and things like that. That's on one hand. On the other hand, how many ads are running to educate you on certain issues? In Lagos, for instance, I see that it is the Lagos State radio stations that are running 1 or 2 of those ads, or maybe 3 at most. You know, we don't just want the media and the education sector to see us as, okay, let it not be that you did not get an opportunity to be here. We need these things fixed. If you're in school, are you filling a form that says, oh, some things that you might need, some things that you should be aware of? More scholarship schemes need to come up. For the media itself, we have persons with disabilities that want to really work, even behind the scenes, in front of the cameras, in front of the mics. How many jobs are available? I remember an incident that happened to me personally. I mean, it's definitely fine now because it's been gone, and I know it will definitely work someday. But I remember a radio station where I had done great, and at that time, rather than retaining me, the excuse was, oh, you were still in school, but we have people who are making these things happen. That's a discrimination on its own. Also, we want to be able to join normal conversations in the media, not just disability conversations that we're going to be joining in. Now, I'm here because this is a disability conversation. If you're having an issue of maybe talking about a buju or maybe a normal Nigerian issue, I should be able to get that call that says, hey, we need you to jump on this conversation as well. If that's not happening, if jobs are not happening also where they say, oh, it's this visually impaired guy, it's this lady with albinism, or this person that is the sign interpreter on here, then I think we're just only joking.
So you don't want it to just be a tokenistic approach where certain people living with disabilities are only given a chance when it comes to the disability itself, that conversation, but they should be allowed to contribute their quota irregardless of whatever disabilities they're living with. Olajide, I'd like you to weigh in on that. What are your views when it comes to what the media should be doing, what the education system should be doing? In your experience, were you supported growing up, attending schools? What kind of help was available? Olajide? Okay, while we're just waiting for the connection to be restored, I'll move to you, Abednego. We've talked about the challenges. Right now, what are some short-term solutions? What are some things that need to be done so that we can move the needle further?
Okay, so like the team which I'm a part of, which is Just Abled Creative Expressions Africa, what we intend to do and have started doing in the past and even up until now is we should start by educating people. You get orientation needs to be done. It begins with me and you. If I say, hey, Isabella, rather than call me this, can you call me that? You've learned a thing, which means I'm hoping that you teach a person or two how to say it, and then it's going to spread that way. If it comes to the education sector, we should not just give these courses alone and say, come and study this course. We should also make it work. Where the roads that people are, that persons with disabilities are a part of, make sure that there are ramps. Make sure that the gutters are covered. If it comes to the media itself as well, we should also champion these conversations, fix these ads to play on radio and TV, talking about why you shouldn't discriminate, what to do better. I mean, the transportation system too needs to get better. I've gotten in a bus and things like that where someone is saying to me, who go pay? Who's supposed to pay? I got on your bus because I'm obviously paying. And then you're asking that question. So that's discriminatory. We need to start having these conversations more. It starts with maybe people saying, hey, can we organize something where we have all the drivers or teachers or lecturers or people in media from the most senior ones and say, hey, can we come together and get orientated by these people, where we also tell them why certain things can work. We also have to begin to ask, okay, would you be interested before canceling these people out? I think these are some of the short-term conversations. Then from time to time, have these conversations, not only when an issue like Debola has happened, that we're going to have it, or maybe we're having this conversation so that it doesn't look like it. Maybe once in 3 months or something, if every radio and TV station says this is what's going to happen, then cool. Giving opportunities where it is due, not just in the disability world. I'm a voice actor, for instance. You would not expect to say, hey, only when there are adverts that has to do with disabled persons that you will reach out, or only events for disabled persons for him to host. No, you are reaching out because you believe in the talent, you believe I would deliver, or to wrap at your event, not just from the disability angle, but because, yes, truly, so we want to be given those platforms. Then more scholarship schemes have to be created for persons with disabilities and the likes. There are many more things, but since these are short terms to begin with, then I think we can start from here.
Mainstreaming that conversation, and it's not just a reactive approach, but you're proactive in ensuring that people are aware. I like the example you gave, because a lot of times they say disabled people, but when you're orientated, you know that it's persons living with disabilities or persons with disabilities, and the media does have a role to play. Olajide, are you there? Olajide? Okay. Hopefully.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great. Okay, I'd like you now to speak.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Please go ahead. Olajide, please go ahead and make your contributions.
Can you come again, please?
Okay. I'm asking, I'm not sure if you heard the first question, but let's just go off the last question, which is, what are some of the things that can be done in the short term to address this issue, so we don't have the situations keep occurring where persons living with disabilities are excluded?
All right. Thank you. I think just like my colleague had just said, I think it is important that we continue to create more awareness around, especially the Disability Act. Sometimes I do not necessarily blame people that against persons with disabilities, because some of them, they have this cultural belief that have been with them right from their childhood days, and what they have seen from their parents and from their grandparents, and they were still practicing that. So sometimes I do not necessarily blame them, but of course I think there is the need for us now to continue to sensitize them, to continue to let them know that it is no longer business as usual. We are no longer in the 19th or the 18th century, that things have changed. Of course, now, I think some of those things that I'm expecting now is for government to be proactive. Just like what Abednego said, that, it's not only when it has to do with disability issues that persons with disabilities should be invited. There are other areas. For instance, I studied computer engineering. I'm an IT consultant, which means that I am expected to be practicing. But in a situation whereby it was only when it has to do with disability issues that I'm being called upon. Yes, I am a disability rights advocate, and then I practice it fully as well. So, but of course, who said that I cannot, act and perform as a commissioner for science and technology in my state? Because I have the prerequisite qualifications. So, but our society has been designed in such a way that they still have this notion, this traditional belief that it has to just to be about disability alone. So the orientation, that awareness creation has to be deepened, And even persons with disabilities, we ourselves also need to, learn more about our own issues. We need to learn more. Even in this Disability Act, some of us still need to, build our capacity so that we'll be able, we are the one that should begin to, sensitize the general public. At our organizations, we have trained the media, we have trained the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, and I think this is where it starts, and others can continue to, train others like that. And the more we are doing this, the more the society continues to get better and better for persons with disabilities.
Thank you very much, Olajide. I think on that note, a summary could be that all hands need to put on deck, all hands need to be on deck to drive that conversation on inclusion. And the government has a place to play, the media as well as the education system. That's where we're going to wrap up the conversation. Thank you very much, Abednego Norris, for being our guest here on Rubbin Minds. And we hope to see you another time when disability is not the conversation. Maybe
yes,
entertainment.
definitely. When you reach out,
something
we'll
to
make
do
it
with
happen.
yes,
we will.
To do with the entertainment industry. And thank you very much, Olajide Funsho Benjamin, for joining us. We'll take a quick break on Rubbin Minds. Don't go anywhere.